It starts with a question, a quiet whisper that you've been ignoring for too long. Is this all there is? It's not loud, not demanding, but it's persistent. It waits for you in the silence, in the moments when the world grows still, and you're left alone with your thoughts. You've felt it, haven't you? That nagging sensation that you're meant for more, that this life you're living, this routine, this comfort, isn't the full picture. There's something inside you, buried beneath the doubts and the fears, that's been waiting for you to notice it, to acknowledge it, to unleash it. They told you to settle, to be realistic, to play it safe. But deep down, you know the truth. Greatness was never born in safety. It was never found in the shadows of someone else's dreams. Greatness is forged in the fire of risk, of challenge, of stepping into the unknown. But the path, it isn't easy. It demands everything from you. Your comfort, your certainty, even your fear. It asks you to step forward, even when the road ahead is unclear. To trust that the strength you need will meet you along the way. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest. The path before you is hidden, shrouded in mist. You can't see where it leads. You can't see what's waiting on the other side. But you can feel it. The pull, the promise of something greater. The first step is the hardest. Your mind races with questions. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if the risk isn't worth it? But here's the truth. The first step isn't about knowing where you're going. It's about deciding to begin. It's about saying, I may not know what lies ahead, but I'll never find out if I stay where I am. And so you step forward, not because you're fearless, but because you're brave enough to move despite the fear. Every great journey begins with this moment, the moment you choose to say yes to the unknown. The path isn't straight. It twists and turns, leading you through valleys of doubt and peaks of possibility. Along the way, you'll encounter voices, some from the world around you and some from within. They'll tell you to turn back, that you're not ready, that you're not capable. But doubt, it's not your enemy. It's a mirror, reflecting back the parts of yourself that need to grow. Doubt doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're trying. It means you're stepping outside the boundaries of what you've known, into a space where greatness can be found. As you walk, something begins to shift. The doubt doesn't disappear, but it grows quieter. In its place, something else begins to rise. Belief. Not the kind of belief that comes from proof or certainty, but the kind that comes from within. The kind that says, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try anyway. And that belief, it's a spark, a flicker of light in the darkness. The more you feed it, with action, with courage, with persistence, the brighter it grows. Until one day, you realize it's not just a spark, it's a fire. The fire of belief isn't gentle. It burns, it consumes. And as you walk further along this path, you realize something. The fire isn't there to destroy you. It's there to forge you. Every challenge, every setback, every obstacle, it's a test. A hammer striking against your resolve, shaping you into something stronger. But with each strike, the question lingers. Will you endure, or will you break? The path ahead is no longer shrouded in mist. It's illuminated by the flames of your determination. And what you see isn't comforting. It's steep. It's rugged. It's lined with jagged rocks and sharp edges. But it's real. And it's yours. As the fire burns brighter, it casts shadows. These aren't the doubts of others. These are your shadows. The parts of yourself you've tried to ignore, to bury, to forget. They rise before you now, whispering truths you don't want to hear. You've failed before. What makes this time different? You're not as strong as you pretend to be. What if you're wasting your time? You stop, not to retreat, but to face them, to hear them out. Because you've learned that running from the shadows only makes them stronger. They are not your enemies. They are pieces of yourself waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be integrated into the fire that fuels you. And so you walk on, carrying the weight of your shadows and the heat of the fire. The path doesn't get easier. The strikes of the hammer grow heavier. But something shifts. You begin to realize that each blow isn't just forging you. It's revealing you. The jagged rocks become stepping stones. The sharp edges become tools. The obstacles don't disappear, but they stop feeling impossible. Because the more you face them, the more you understand. They were never bigger than you. They only seemed that way because you hadn't yet grown into your strength. But the fire warns you, don't become complacent. Strength isn't something you achieve and keep forever. It's something you earn moment by moment, choice by choice. And just as the fire forges, it can also consume. Pride, arrogance, the belief that you've already won. These are the embers that can turn your fire into ashes. So you stay humble, you stay sharp, you keep walking, knowing that the forge is both your greatest ally and your greatest challenge. Because the path to greatness doesn't end, and neither does the fire. The path narrows, the fire dims, and suddenly you find yourself standing before the abyss. A void so vast, so consuming, it feels like it could swallow you whole. It's not fear that grips you, it's doubt. This isn't the doubt of others. This is your own voice now. Louder, sharper. It asks the questions you've been avoiding. What if you're not enough? What if the sacrifices you've made weren't worth it? What if you fail? And for a moment, you falter. You look into the abyss and see nothing staring back. But then, you take a breath. You remember, the abyss isn't there to stop you. It's there to challenge you, to make you prove to yourself that you're capable of stepping into the unknown. As you take your first step into the void, it begins to change. Shapes emerge from the darkness. Monsters born from your fears and failures. They don't attack. They don't need to. Their presence alone is enough to paralyze most. But you've come too far to stop now. So you face them. One by one, you look them in the eye. And you realize something. These monsters aren't here to destroy you. They are here to remind you of the battles you've already fought, the scars you've earned, the strength you've built. The deeper you go, the darker it becomes. But instead of resisting the darkness, you embrace it. You become it. Because you understand now that the shadows aren't the absence of light. They are proof that the light exists. You carry the darkness with you, not as a burden, but as a reminder. A reminder that you are not defined by the shadows you've walked through, but by the strength it took to walk through them. When you emerge from the abyss, you're not the same. You're stronger, wiser, unbreakable. The fire inside you burns brighter than ever, fueled by the shadows you faced. The path ahead is no longer daunting. It's yours to claim. When you rise from the shadows, the world looks at you differently. It sees not the struggles that shaped you, but the strength that emerged. To them, you are no longer the person who doubted, who stumbled, who fell. You are something else entirely now, a force, a symbol of resilience. But with that strength comes the weight of expectation. They expect you to be unbreakable, to never falter. The pedestal they place you on feels as fragile as glass. And the whispers start again, but this time they come from a different source. Can you sustain this? Can you carry their hopes along with your own? The weight presses down, heavier than before. But you don't crumble. Instead, you adapt. You shift the burden and use it to stand taller. The world doesn't stay silent for long. The noise always comes back. The chaos always finds its way in. But this time, it feels different. It's not a storm trying to consume you. It's a wind that bends around you. The doubts and criticisms that once pierced like daggers now feel like whispers in the distance. The difference isn't in the world, it's in you. You've learned to master the noise, to make it your ally instead of your enemy. Where others see distractions, you see opportunities. Where they hear chaos, you hear possibility. Every step forward feels heavier, but also more meaningful. The ground beneath your feet feels solid, not because it's unyielding, but because you've learned to make it so. You've become something the world doesn't understand, an unstoppable force. It's not because you're fearless. It's not because you're invincible. It's because you've learned the truth. Fear isn't the enemy. It's the compass. It's the voice that says, this is the direction where your strength will grow. You don't fight the obstacles anymore. You use them. Every stone in your path becomes a stepping stone. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes fuel. And with every step, you build momentum. A momentum so powerful, it feels like nothing can stop you. And then it happens. The transformation. You realize that the path you're on isn't leading you somewhere. It's shaping you into something. The fire that once forged you now burns within you. The shadows that once haunted you now walk beside you, not as enemies, but as reminders of how far you've come. You are no longer the person who started this journey. You are no longer defined by your past, your failures, your fears. You've become something else entirely, a force, a beacon, a storm, and the world feels it. They see it. They know it. You stand at the edge of a new horizon. The world that once tried to break you now stands in awe of you. But this isn't the end. It's never the end. The path to greatness doesn't conclude. It evolves. The challenges don't disappear. They transform. You take a step forward, not because the journey demands it, but because you choose it. Because the fire inside you doesn't know how to stop. Because the shadows beside you don't hold you back. They push you forward. You rise, not as someone who has reached the top, but as someone who refuses to stop climbing. And in that rise, you find the true meaning of greatness. It's not about reaching the summit. It's about becoming the kind of person who never stops ascending. Every story of greatness has its final test. The moment when all your strength, all your lessons are put to the ultimate trial. And now, you face it. The wall stands before you, immense, unyielding, defiant. It looms higher than anything you've ever encountered, and its message is clear. You shall not pass. You pause, not in fear, but in recognition. This is the moment you've been walking toward. Every step, every obstacle, every fire has prepared you for this. The wall isn't here to stop you. It's here to ask the question, how badly do you want it? You take a deep breath, feeling the fire within ignite. The ground beneath your feet feels steady, your resolve unshakable. The world watches as you take your first step toward the wall. It doesn't move, it doesn't waver. It's an immovable challenge, but so are you. Your first strike echoes like thunder, but the wall remains. The doubts creep back in, whispering, maybe this is the limit. Maybe this is where you stop. But you silence them. You've come too far, endured too much, to let anything hold you back now. With every strike, the fire within grows. Your efforts are no longer about breaking the wall. They're about proving that nothing can break you. The clash isn't just physical. It's a battle of wills, and you refuse to yield. As the strikes continue, you feel a shift. The wall doesn't crack, but something inside you does. Not in defeat, but in revelation. You realize the wall isn't the enemy. It was never meant to be destroyed. It's a mirror, reflecting back your own limitations, your own fears. The wall isn't here to stop you. It's here to transform you. The battle changes. You stop fighting against the wall and start climbing it. Every handhold, every foothold is a testament to your growth. The higher you climb, the clearer the path becomes. The wall wasn't meant to block your way. It was meant to elevate you. At the top of the wall, you pause. The view is breathtaking. The horizon stretches endlessly, filled with new challenges, new opportunities, new paths. But this moment isn't about what lies ahead. It's about what you've overcome. You look back at the path you've walked, the fire, the shadows, the abyss, the noise. Every trial, every doubt, every fear has led you here. The wall didn't stop you. It revealed you. It showed you the strength you didn't know you had. You climbed down the other side of the wall, not as a conqueror, but as someone transformed. The fire within you burns brighter than ever, not because the challenges have ended, but because you now know you can face anything. Greatness isn't about reaching a destination. It's about the journey. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't stop, who doesn't yield, who continues to rise no matter what stands in their way. And so, you walk forward, ready for the next challenge. The wall is behind you, but the lessons it taught remain. The path ahead is yours to claim, and nothing can stop you now. The journey continues. Greatness is not a single moment. It's a lifetime of rising. What lies ahead is unknown, but one thing is certain. You will face it, and you will overcome it.